Jackson Systems is your controls expert in the HVAC industry. With our top-notch technical support and customer service, we make life easier for you, the HVAC contractor. We offer free trainings on any products sold here at Jackson Systems, along with our Filter Fetch program, free thermostat imprinting, home and business automation with connected sensors, cameras, and even smart stats from Nest, Ecobee, Honeywell, White Rogers, Google, and more. Visit us at jacksonsystems.com to see the products that continue to win industry acclaim among contractors worldwide. Jackson Systems, controls done right.
Meet Zoomlock, the 10-second flame-free refrigerant fitting from Parker. Reduce labor costs by 60% with no brazing, no flame, and no fire spotter. Discover how Zoomlock can help you be more efficient and productive. Visit Zoomlock.com for more information.
You're listening to the HVAC After Dark podcast, a no-nonsense HVAC podcast from real HVAC technicians. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of HVAC After Dark. I'm John Israel, alongside my new co-host, Mr. Gil Cavey. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. So I'm very excited about this episode, mainly because we're co-hosting the podcast now.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for that, John. I'm flattered, excited. I appreciate you asking me, man. I'm really, really excited about this.
No, man, no problem. I'm glad you agreed to it. I'm glad we were able to work it out. So this is going to be a good episode, guys. We're gonna talk a little bit about. We're gonna talk about two topics here. One topic is going to be just about basic safety. Not that me and Gil work for OSHA and nothing like that. That's not what we're talking about. Basically, common sense safety is what we want to talk about. It may not be OSHA approved. I'm sure there's a lot of things that me and Gil do that we think is safe, but if OSHA were to see it, they'd say, no, that's not, you can't do it like that. But it is what it is. Basically, what brought this topic up is we saw somebody in the Facebook group had got hit in the eye with a piece of PVC. And he reminded everybody to, stay safe out there. So we're just going to talk general safety. And Gil is going to tell us. Gil is like the carrier guru. Okay, his company is a carrier dealer. And every time I talk to Gil, I'll text him or whatever. Hey, man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in class. Oh, okay. So I text him the next day. Hey, Gil, what are you up to, man? Oh, I'm in class. So Gil is always in carrier class, and he got some pretty good information about some changes that's coming with carrier. So Gil's going to talk about that too.
Yeah, you gotta stay in class, man. It gets old. I mean, we have to take them in order to be a factory authorized dealer, but it's good, man. I learned a lot of stuff about that equipment that. Even sometimes I take the same class 2 and 3 times, and you might only pick up a little bit the first 2 times, and then that third time you pick up something different. So it's good. And as far as the safety that you were talking, yeah, John's right. Me and John are no experts on safety, but it's just we've been doing it long enough that we understand the common sense safety, the stuff that we all know that we should do every day, but sometimes we figure, oh, maybe not this time. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of classes, I'm actually going to a class tomorrow morning at R.E. Michael on mini splits. It's not for all brands. It's for the Comfort Star brand. R.E. Michael handles it, but I figure I know the mini splits are different, but I figure if I can go learn some knowledge about one brand of mini splits, it'll help me to troubleshoot other brands too. I figured it can't hurt to go.
Yeah, no. I mean, taking any of those classes, I mean, let's just be honest, they're all relatively the same technology for the most part. Each manufacturer is going to have their own niche, and codes are going to be something different. Temperature settings are going to be different, but for the most part, the technology is relatively the same. Right,
and basically, I'm going for just to try to get more knowledge on mini splits, in general. So I figure it can't hurt to take a class, and it's the slow time down here anyway. So I try to take all the classes that I can, not that we get a whole lot of them here. But I tell you what, man, I got another class coming up at RE Michael. RE Michael, we've talked about this in the past. Well, not me and you, but on another podcast. RE Michael is fixing to start carrying the Bosch inverter equipment. And we have a class on that. The Bosch people are going to be here giving a class on the Bosch inverter system on November the 1st. Now, I know you do a lot of inverters, Gil. Do y'all have the Bosch over there? Does your company even fool with them? Do you know anything about them?
To be honest, I've heard of them. We don't touch them. I haven't seen them. I don't know anybody around me who sells them. I mean, from what I've heard has been on the internet and, other podcasts and things. It sounds like a cool product. I'll put it this way. Most of the chances that I get to be able to sell inverter, I'm selling a complete system. I'm not just selling just an outdoor unit. Most of those people, if they're going to make that investment, we're doing the whole thing. It's not just put me an inverter outdoor unit and keep the indoor. It's a cool idea. I just have never messed with it.
No, you can do that with Bosch, but Bosch actually has complete systems. But supposedly this is a cheaper alternative to be able to give somebody inverter technology. I don't really have a desire to push the equipment. My sales rep from RE Michael, he's going to guinea pig one on his house because he likes the inverter technology. So he's going to try out a Bosch, and he's going to actually have me install it. So I'm going to go install it for him. And that'll be the one that I'm going to guinea pig myself because I don't know, man. There's some guys on YouTube that love them and sell the piss out of them. I just don't know how I feel about them yet because I don't know if you know this, Gil, but they only have 2 condensers. One is for 1 to 3 ton, and then the other one is for 3.5 up to 5. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I did hear that. I mean, and it's like anything else. I mean, we get nervous when we don't know about it. So I mean, when you put it in, hell, you might call me and be like, Gil, this is the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? I guess I really won't know how I feel about it until I'm able to actually get my hands on it and see what it can do. I mean, maybe it's great, maybe it's not. Me, I'm a carrier inverter guy, green speed guy. I love the product. I stand by it because I've had my hands on it so many times. You know what I mean?
How many inverters? I know you probably don't know the exact number, but you've installed and serviced quite a few of them, haven't you?
Oh yeah, my company, we probably have, I don't know, 45, 50 of them out there. Awesome.
Any issues?
No, not really. We just had we had one under warranty where we had to replace the whole inverter. It was just a warranty issue. Something happened. We had a couple of issues where when we first started putting them in, some of the installers weren't doing things right. But most of the issues we have, I can honestly say, were our fault. It was installers that didn't know what they were doing, which that's my fault and my boss's fault. We didn't train them properly. But once they're installed right, we really haven't had, many issues. A couple of recalls, but I think one was for like some little like fusible link thing that the carrier sent out that had to be changed. Other than that, I mean, they've been pretty good, man. All my customers love them, and everybody who has them would never go back to a normal system. They all say that.
Man, I'm no inverter genius or guru myself. I've only got one out there. I'm very proud of the one that I do have out there. And I've touched base with the customer on several occasions. And again, this is only coming from one person. He loves it. He told me that his house has never been more comfortable. The humidity levels are down. He's keeping the thermostat, like I think he said 6 degrees warmer than what he used to keep his old 13 SEER system. So, again, that's one person for me. You know, I wish I had more out there, but this is a tough market here. Sometimes we have a hard time getting somebody to buy a 14 seer, much less an inverter. So, but I'm trying. I'm trying to push him. But I know that he really, really enjoys his.
Yeah, and it's hard. They're not an easy sell, man. But the one thing I've learned is don't say no for the customer. Don't offer it. Offer it on every job. For all you know, they might say yes. You know what I mean? And I've had that quite a few times where I've offered it, being like, you know what, I'm gonna put it on there. They're probably not gonna do it, but at least I know I put it on there. And then I'll be damned. People are like, well, what's this inverter? Start asking questions. I start answering questions. The guy's like, well, hell yeah, I want that. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's kind of how it was with the one that I did sell. I kind of went into it slow, and because I thought that he would be a guy that would be interested in that. So I kind of started explaining to him how the technology worked, and he was like, oh yeah, he goes, that's what I want. That's what I want. And man, he tells me every time I talk to him, man, I'm so glad you told me about this thing. He goes, this thing is awesome. So again, that's only one person for me, but to hear that y'all have about 50 of them out there, and so y'all have never had a complaint?
Well, no, let me not. I mean, I won't say that. We've had a couple complaints. Like, we had one customer who, to be honest, I think the guy, one of our techs who sold it, it wasn't sized properly. And he just said it was like after a year, and he was kind of pissed because he said that he saved money, but he didn't save as much as he thought he would for the amount of money that he put out. And come to find out, the system pretty much, I think it was like a 3-ton system, and the guy just pretty much went by what was in there before. It ended up, we had to do some switching around, some swap out. Carrier actually helped us out to keep this guy, happy. But that's like I told you earlier. Now, on not even just inverters, every sale that we do for quality control, whether I sell it or not, I do the startup. So that way I see the system, I know it's going to work right, I know it's sized properly. That way, if there's going to be any issues, I can take care of it right then and there. Granted, it's already installed, but whatever. We do enough stuff through Carrier. If I take a furnace out or an air handler, it's not like I'm not going to use it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that, for sure. Anytime you got a crew out there, you want to have the owner or the manager, somebody like you that the owner knows he can trust, overlook the system before those mistakes are made. But all right, so we're gonna get into the two topics here that we're gonna talk about. But real quick before we get into those, dude, what is going on with your Ravens, man?
Oh man, I want to bury my head in the sand, John. I thought my boys were gonna turn it around. We've had a lot of injuries, but the Ravens have looked atrocious the last couple of weeks. I mean, we got beat by the Bears. The Bears are supposed to be a gimme game. Now I think the Ravens are a gimme game.
Man, I can't say that I've ever been a Ravens fan, but I've never had anything against the Ravens. You have those. Everybody's got the teams that they hate in football, whether it be college or professional.
Steelers.
Exactly. I can't stand the Steelers. But I've never had anything against the Ravens. Now, I know the Ravens got a hell of a defense, but it looks like y'all are lacking on offense this year.
Yeah, it's our defense. I mean, our defense is good, but it's not. I mean, you got to figure, in Baltimore, we were spoiled, having Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and all those guys. Our defenses were always like some of the best in the league. So our defense is good, but I hate to say it, we have missed on draft picks, and we don't have a lot of talent. I mean, people in Baltimore sports talk radio, dude, they like Flacco is going to be shot, should be killed. He's, the worst thing ever. And
yeah.
And it's just the guy has nothing to work with, man. I mean, what do you expect him to do when he's got, third string? I mean, hell, one of the receivers last week was only on the team for 1 week.
Yeah, Flacco's not a bad quarterback. You know though, man. But you take like the Saints. I know at the beginning of the season, I remember on one of these podcast episodes, I said, it looks like it's going to be a long year for the Saints. And then right after I said that, bam, they win. Then they win another one. Then they win another one. Then they win another one. The Saints have won 4 in a row. We started off 0-2. Now we're 4-2, and we're number 1 in the NFC South. So I don't know what the hell happened after those first 2 games, but they completely turned it around. Now, we've always carried a high-powered offense, always in the top 5 every year. But we always lacked in our defense, and that's what it looked like in those first 2 games that we lost. We were having defensive issues. Well, I don't know what the hell happened on that 3rd game and then the other 3 after that, but the defense has just totally turned it around. And the Saints got a chance if they keep playing ball like this.
Dude, as long as the Saints, their defense gets turnovers and you keep putting the ball in Drew Brees' hands, they're going to win.
Yeah, Drew Brees the dude's an animal. And he doesn't have all of his weapons anymore. We lost a lot of good receivers, but he still has some good ones out there to throw the ball to. And, we are primarily a passing team. We do have Mark Ingram, and we have that guy Kamara, I think is how you say his name. He's a hell of a little running back. And a lot of Saints fans were bitching because we got rid of Adrian Peterson, but Adrian Peterson did not fit our style of offense because we are a passing team. Sean Payton runs an offense that we don't need a running back like Peterson. I think bringing him in was a bad idea from the start. I knew it wasn't going to last because Sean Payton has never gave the ball to a running back every down like Peterson wants to have the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and I agree. I was kind of surprised when you guys picked him up, but I would have liked to have seen you guys keep him just to have that threat. You know what I mean? Say something happens, it's a bad day. It's, especially when you get into the playoffs and you play in that cold weather and it's hard to throw. Hey, hand it off to Peterson. Let this guy ground and pound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point, but the problem is that the second game of the year, Adrian Peterson and Sean were going at each other's throat on the sideline. Because Peterson was bitching to Sean that he wasn't getting the ball enough. Sean Payton doesn't run that kind of offense. When I saw them two arguing on the sideline, I remember looking right at my nephew, who I watch football with. I said, dude, this ain't going to last. I said, I'll be surprised if he's here for another week or 2. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, we got rid of him. So, but it is what it is. I always try to squeeze a little football in there before we get started, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I guess we're gonna cover safety first. Y'all know that heating season is going to be here soon. Well, my friends at Bacharach want to help you get ready for those furnace tune-up calls. From the entry-level Firite Intech to the Insight Plus with TuneRite and the commercial-grade PCA3. Bacharach makes a combustion analyzer for every technician. And that's not all. Through the end of November, Bacharach is offering a rebate on select analyzers. You can get cash back, pre-calibrated B-Smart sensors, or a free wireless printer. That's up to a $350 value. Don't wait. Get your rebate form today by going to www.mybacharach.com/offers and use the promo code Combustion350. That's promo code Combustion350 and let them know that John Israel sent you. All right, guys, so we're talking safety here, like just basic safety. I'm going to let Gil start off because, Gil, it was kind of your idea to talk safety. So you want to talk about what led up to you bringing up this topic?
Yeah, it's pretty much like you said, in the intro about the one guy, his name's Paul Nye. Thank you, Paul, for, I hope you pronounce your name right, for sharing that picture. He said that he, threw a piece of PVC pipe up. I think it was a chute or something. And thank God he was wearing his glasses because it came back down and smacked him right in his eye. If he wasn't wearing those glasses, he might not have his eye right now. And it got me thinking, just in my own personal, like I do things every day that, there's always those close calls, where eventually, guys, one of those close calls is going to be, it's going to be the time, when something's going to happen that we're going to seriously hurt ourselves to the point where we're not going to make it home to our loved ones, or we're going to seriously injure ourselves, and it's not something that we can ever get back.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I'm glad he was wearing his safety glasses because, I have, if you watch my YouTube videos, you'll see me wearing them in the truck. I have these safety glasses that also double as sunglasses. They're made by, I think it's how you say is Nemesis or something like that.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Yeah, but I wear them as safety glasses, but they're also sunglasses. And they've saved me, from stuff, like shooting in my, like stuff shooting in my face and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a close one. We had a guy, one of the plumbers that when my dad was co-owner of that plumbing, heating, and air company several years ago, he opened up his van and a piece of copper pipe actually did hit him in the eye. Screwed his eye up pretty bad. If you got some PVC pipe, like a lot of guys will they'll go buy a stick of PVC at the supply house and they'll throw it in the back of the van and then they'll like bend it to where the back doors on the van will shut. I don't know if that's what happened to Paul or not, but when you open that door, that PVC is going to, act like a damn, I don't know, like a bungee cord or something. And it's going to come shooting out of there. So, the best thing to do with that is put it up on the pipe rack. And again, guys, we're not talking about OSHA certified stuff. We're talking about common sense safety. Just little stuff like that. You could easily lose an eye, from that. The guy at that one of my old coworkers back when I worked for my dad and his partner that I just told y'all about with the copper, he almost lost his eye. I mean, he came very, very close to losing his eye. So, just think before you do stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about taking your time and being careful, man. I mean, like the safety goggles, wearing gloves, being careful when you take your refrigerant hoses off, that you're not getting refrigerant burns. I mean, drive, like both of us, people know that you were in an accident. Well, I was actually in a fender bender last Friday as well. Nothing to the extent of John's, but from a business standpoint, insurance purposes, it's not good. You know what I mean? So even when you're driving, you know what I mean, guys? Don't be texting and driving. Make sure that you strap your ladders down properly. Just anything that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that's going to cause you to not go home the same way you left. That's pretty much the point we're trying to get across.
Yeah, yep. I'll tell you another one. A big thing is ladder safety, man. And I know this from personal. Before I started doing YouTube, in 2012, I think. So this would have had to been 2011. It was right when I started my company. So it was 2010 or 2011. I fell off of a ladder, like at the top of the roof, because the ladder was leaned up against the building. And what I should have done was tie it down to the roof somehow. And I didn't, because all I was doing was going up there to do maintenance on an RTU to change out the filters and just, look over everything. And I said, and actually I had already looked over everything. The last thing I had to do was change the filters. So I ran down to the truck, got the filters, threw them up on the roof, climbed on the roof. I said, I'll be out of here quick. Now, all this time I've been going up and down the ladder several times with no tie down, which was a huge mistake, which I don't do anymore. And I've been fine all day. So I get up there, I change the filters, I walk back to the ladder, and I got my tool bag hanging off of me. That was before I knew anything about Vito, because I didn't know about Vito until I started YouTube. I think I had a Husky tool bag from Home Depot, and it was a pretty big bag. It was loaded down with tools. It was on my shoulder. Well, I stepped on the ladder, and my tool bag shifted on my shoulder, if that makes any sense. It does. Which caused me to lose my footing on the ladder, and then my other foot was still on the roof, and it slipped, and my ladder slid, and I fell probably about 12 feet, flat on my face and stomach. Broke a couple ribs, and I mean, had a huge bruise on my stomach. I mean, huge, like just purple and black. I could have very easily lost my life, if I would have landed the wrong way. So if you're not tying down your ladders, even if you're just using a 6-foot step ladder, I mean, a step ladder, again, keep in mind, this was an extension ladder propped up against a building. But look, man, follow those safety codes on ladders, because that was a close call for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that, because me and my father, God rest his soul, that's what ended my dad's career. My dad had a ladder up when we did all commercial stuff, and there must have been some grease on the ground that you couldn't see, and his ladder slipped out. My dad fell off, broke both his legs, and being diabetic, it took him longer to heal, and after that he was just never right. Ended up retiring, and that's what took him out of the trade.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I was lucky to get away with just a couple broken ribs and some bruises, because I could have easily broke an arm, broke a leg, got a concussion, or even died, if I would have landed the wrong way.
Well, yeah, if you'd have landed on your neck, your head, I mean, you could have broke your damn neck and be paralyzed right now.
Yeah, I mean, even if I wouldn't have died, I could be I could be paralyzed. I could be in a wheelchair. I can only thank God that I'm not, because He's the only reason that I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's the main reason that I thought about this safety, is just to bring it to fruition, that people think about it, just stop for a second, and just actually think about something. If it doesn't seem safe or doesn't seem right, then don't do it. Like John said, check your ladders. If you got like an older ladder and you're thinking, man, this thing's looking kind of rough, hey, maybe it's time to get a new one. Let's talk to the boss. This thing's not safe. The leg's broke, or the rung's not latching, the way it's supposed to. Your torch is acting funny. I don't know. And I hope you know what I mean. A whole bunch of things. We just, be careful. Think about that stuff.
Absolutely. Because especially, your step ladders, I just replaced both my step ladders. I carry a 6-footer and an 8-footer. I just spent over $300 on ladders because I'm a big guy, so I buy the most heavy duty ones that they make. I buy the Warners. I think Warner from Lowe's, and to me they're the best. They are the best branded ladder out there.
They're good.
Yeah, and I buy the orange ones. The orange ones are the most heavy duty ones, and they're a little bit more expensive. But the two that I had, I've had them for probably 8 years. And that fiberglass, they sit on top of that truck, the sun bakes them. And I was climbing through a scudder hole in an attic on my 8-footer, and I heard something crack, and it was one of the legs on my step ladder that was breaking. Because the ladder was dry rotten. It had been sitting on top of the truck for so long. The sun baked it, and in between it getting used for the past 8 years, between use and sitting and getting baked in the sun, it was finished. So yeah, I had to go fork out a chunk of money for ladders, but hey, it's better to be safe than sorry, So if like Gil said, if your ladders are broken, if they're in bad shape, hey, you're gonna have to suck it up and come up with the dough, or if you work for somebody, go tell your boss, get you some new ladders, and make sure they're tied down on your truck. I can't tell you how many times that I have took off out of a parking lot, and thank God the ladder falls off my ladder rack before I get on the road, because I forgot to tie it down. Because, yeah, you're going to be okay, but you might hurt somebody else. Because if that ladder flies off your truck the right way in traffic, goes through somebody's windshield, think about that for a second, what that could do to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as the whole ladder thing, guys, don't think that it's only safety when it comes to extension ladders. Guys, you could be on a 6-foot ladder and fall the wrong way and break your leg, fall on your neck, and you're done. So it's not just extension ladders because of the distance that you're off the ground. It doesn't matter. It's a whole bunch of things, man, guys. We want you to be safe out there. That's the whole big thing, man. I've had things pop up in my eye where I've gotten lucky. I've had to go see the eye doctor to get him to take something out, and it's been a close call. And it actually took, doing that 4 times before now I finally wear, safety goggles or glasses all the time. It's just, I guess as men or as tradesmen, why does it have to take us 4 or 5 times of having something go wrong before we finally start to protect ourselves?
Absolutely. And another thing I want to talk about too is gloves and safety glasses. I've seen things on Facebook and some of the HVAC groups that says, gloves, you mean bitch mittens? If somebody makes fun of you for wearing gloves, let them make fun of you. Look, my hands, you'd have to see them in person. But my hands are horrible looking. They look like something out of a horror movie because I have so many scars. My hands are just tore the hell up. I mean, I don't really have, my nails look horrible. The skin around the nails, it's all gone. I've got cuts all over them, scars, and that's from the lack of wearing gloves. But here in the last 2 years, I can't say that I wear gloves every single time I do a change out, but I try to remember to, especially if you work with sheet metal. I've got scars from being cut on sheet metal, but you could really cut yourself bad on sheet metal and really cause some damage. So if somebody's that's like Steve Lav. Y'all all, for those of you that follow Steve Lav, you've heard him say, "Why do you wear gloves? I could never figure it out." That's why. And if somebody wants to make fun of you for wearing gloves, let them make fun of me or call you names. Hey, look, nobody's been called names more than me. Between YouTube and the recent changes in the podcast world, man, I've been called every name under the sun, from asshole to dickhead to hell, I've even been accused of scamming people. But you know what? I just don't let it bother me. I just keep moving forward. Safety glasses. That's something else important, especially when you're brazing. Something could fly in your eye, or you just never know. If somebody wants to make fun of you for that, hey, guess what? Let them make fun of you. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if somebody makes fun of me. My main goal is to go make money, earn a living, and to be able to come home to my family. So if somebody else thinks that I'm dumb for wearing goggles or wearing gloves, hey, that's your opinion, so be it. I'm going home to my wife and kids in one piece. My hands ain't all cut up. I'm not, wearing a fucking eye patch, like One Eye Willie, because I thought it was not cool to wear, some safety glasses.
Absolutely. Guys, we're not out there to look cool. Like Gil said, we're out there to make a living and to come home at night to our families. So if that requires you to wear gloves and one of your coworkers says, "Oh, you got them bitch mittens on, huh?" Just, yep. You know what you tell him? Yep, I sure do. Or if get made fun of for the safety glasses, let them get hurt a couple times, and I bet you they'll start wearing gloves and safety glasses and stuff. I guarantee you they will. But so just try to stay safe. I know we only talked about a couple topics there, but I think we covered the most important things, about safety.
Yeah, well, plus, like we said, we weren't trying to go in depth. We were just trying to bring up the topic so you guys stay safe out there, guys. You got to remember, me and John are just like you guys, okay? We get up every morning, we go out, we go to work, we're fixing stuff, you know what I mean? We're doing the same things, we're seeing the same things, and me and John had talked about something that happened the other day, and I was like, man, we should talk about this on the podcast because, we just want all of our listeners and everybody out there to be safe, man. That's pretty much it,
Absolutely. Keep in mind, guys, we do this for a living every day. This podcast, this is something that me and Gil do for fun. This is not how we make our living. We don't just sit in front of a computer all day, and, we don't work at a supply house. We go to work out in the field every day, just like all of y'all. So, we're two real technicians that work in the field every day. And the last thing I'll say about safety is, always double check something. If it doesn't feel right, or if you have any doubt that you forgot to do this or do that or tie this down or tie that down or put this up or anything, if there's any doubt, just double check it. Take the extra couple minutes to double check it.
That's good that you said that, John, because one thing I always tell my guys is I don't care if I tell them that I turned a breaker off, you double check to make sure if that line's hot or not, because everybody makes mistakes.
That's what your meter's for.
Yep, exactly.
All right, guys, well, we're going to switch gears here. Gil, like I said earlier, is always in class. Every time I text him or call him or something, hey, man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in carrier class. I'll talk to you later. Call him the next morning. Gil, what's up? Oh, I'm in carrier class. I'll talk to you in a little bit. So Gil went to a carrier class. When did you go? Was it yesterday or the day before?
The day before.
Okay, and you found something very interesting that Carrier is doing. So keep in mind, if you're a Carrier fan out there, I've got the perfect co-host because this guy knows everything about Carrier, which I love because I love Carrier. So he's a handy guy. That's why I keep him around. He doesn't know it, but I keep him around just so I can keep the scoop on Carrier.
There's some other reasons too, but we'll keep that off air.
Yeah. Oh man. So tell us what did you find out? What is Carrier doing?
All right. Well, I found out from a good friend of mine. He like I said, I told John, I'm not going to say his name, but he actually worked for Carrier UTC, the factory. Now he works for Carrier CE Enterprise because of layoffs and different things, but this guy is he's a very smart man. He's helped design, a lot of the Carrier systems that are on the market. But me and him, got to talking, and he knows the owner of my company, blah, blah, blah. And he started talking about some of the new technologies that were coming out with Carrier, and he told me that Carrier and Ecobee are now having a partnership. I don't know what the extent of the partnership is, if it's just like a collaboration deal or if they're actually like going into business with each other. I don't know that. But I do know that Carrier is going to be taking advantage of a lot of the Ecobee technology. They're going to, like how Ecobee has like the separate room sensors. The Carrier, like Infinity stuff, is going to have that pretty soon. I think it's coming out like end of this year. It's going to be a lot of the motion activated things, a lot of the things that Ecobee has built into their stats. They're going to integrate into the Carrier stats, and there's something to do with the thermostats that Ecobee has that I guess Carrier couldn't do, but now they're going to be able to do. But apparently this is a big deal. Like, this is like, I don't know if it's like nobody knows this, if I'm like dropping a secret, or if a lot of guys out there know this already, but apparently it's a big deal. It's going to be a big thing for Carrier.
To us, we don't know about it. I certainly didn't know about it till Gil told me. So, and I try to keep up with everything. So I wonder if Carrier has bought Ecobee, or is fixing to buy Ecobee, or if they're just going to partner up.
Yeah, see, that's what I kind of wish now that I would have asked. I don't know if it's just like a collaboration thing or if it's actually them buying them. But I mean, it's got to be something more than just a collaboration, because when you're letting someone use your technology, it's not like, here, use it and then give it back. I mean, once you let them use it, you know what I mean? So it's got to be something more than just a collaboration.
Yeah, something's going on there. It's got to be either they're going to have some kind of partnership, or Carrier's about to buy Ecobee. But guys, I tell you what, here recently, I've seen a lot of Carrier bashing. And years ago, I used to see people that, praised Carrier. But, you got anybody out there can say what you want. Now, I know it's all about how it's installed. And believe me, I agree with that 110%. But I do believe that the equipment does make a difference too. I do agree that it's all pretty much built the same, but I do think that Carrier is one of your better brands out there on the market. It's my favorite. You know, I'll be honest, it used to not be, but once I started doing the ICP stuff and all that, and Carrier really is a great piece of equipment. In my opinion, Carrier and Bryant, which are two household names, and then Trane and American Standard, which are two household names, are probably the best equipment on the market. I know a lot of you will probably put Lennox in that category, and I know our good friend Matt Mitchell does not want to hear what I'm about to say, but I don't put Lennox in that category. Sorry, Matt, but I just don't. I mean, I think Lennox is lower end equipment. What do they call it? The Marriott series or something like that?
I think so.
I think it's a good unit because it's simple. But when you start getting into the Elite, now the Elite's not too bad. It's ugly the way they shape it. And then when you get into that Signature series, that big condenser, that is the ugliest condenser I've ever seen in my life. And then you got to take that door off the back to get your gauges hooked up. They used to block off the fan with a piece of metal and isolate the compressor so you didn't have to put the door back on, but they don't do that anymore. Now you got to put the door back on. You got to hook up your hoses. Now they do give you a place to where you can run your hoses through, but you have to take the door off in order to get your hands in there to hook it up. And then you got to put the door back on. I don't put Lennox in that category at all. In my opinion, Carrier and Trane are probably the two best brands on the market right now, as far as technology, and as far as I'm talking inverters, and when it comes to 14 series, they're all about the same, but I'm talking about like what Carrier's doing with ecobee technology, high end stuff. I think Carrier and Trane are probably the two best out there. What do you think, Gil?
And I agree with you. I mean, I love Carrier. I've been a Carrier guy for a long time.
I do too, man.
I mean, people don't realize Carrier, ICP, they put out, between that company, they put out the most brands, than anyone. So, I mean,
yeah, it's like a total of 10 or 12 brands.
Yeah, so they're all over the place just with a bunch of different, brand names, and I just I think Carrier is, they're cutting edge. I mean, a lot of people don't realize is Carrier gave us Puron. Carrier's the one who came out with 410. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to be honest, another thing that Carrier is on the verge of being the one to drop the next refrigerant. I know that's
yeah.
Not too far away from happening. I just think that they're in the cutting edge of technology. I mean, Christ, Willis Carrier invented air conditioning, for Christ's sakes. I mean, Trane is good equipment too, but I stand by Carrier's product, and I've built enough relationship with them that they stand by me. So that's why I do what I do with Carrier. I have them in my own home. I think it's a really, really good piece of equipment. I don't know that much about Lennox. I mean, I've worked on some townhouses that I do around here, but it's all lower end stuff. So I really couldn't speak on the Lennox.
The only reason I can speak on Lennox now, I've been around it in my whole career, but it's when I went to work for that other company last year. They were, and I use the word were because past tense, were the biggest Lennox dealer in the state of Louisiana. They don't sell Lennox anymore because of the evaporator coil leaks. I changed more warranty Lennox coils than I think I've changed Goodman. I think Lennox had a bigger issue with their coils than Goodman did. And that's what put a bad taste in my mouth with Lennox, was when I worked for that company. Every job I went on, the dispatcher would call me, hey, this was the system that we put in about a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Customer says it's not cooling. I get there, and the damn thing is almost out of gas. I go inside, I run the H10, and sure enough, it got to where it was like clockwork. You know, every time I'd get a dispatch for a 1, 2, 3, 4-year-old Lennox system, I said, it's leaking gas. It's going to be an evaporator. You know, and sure enough, that's what it was. And that's what put a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, and I don't blame you. I mean, that would, you know, I was involved in the whole Carrier TXV rust inhibitor debacle. So, I mean, I know how it goes. It's just, but what people have to realize is, you know, anybody can have those coil issues. All it takes is one bad batch to ruin a name, and a batch of coils could be 20,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All it takes is one bad batch. A factory messes something up, and you got 20,000 leaking coils out there, and the goddamn world's gonna end. You know.
Here's what I don't understand, though. You know, at least Goodman, I guess they got it fixed. I don't know because I don't sell it anymore. Now, granted, I did go Monday to a man's house on a Goodman system that I did not install, and it was low on gas. It was a heat pump. I went inside. It had an aluminum evaporator, and I was like, oh, well, somebody's changed the coil. And he said, yeah, that's the second one that's in there. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, you definitely got a leak somewhere, so let's start here because most of the time this is where they leak. And I took, I always check the outside too, but anyway. So I run the old H10 in the evaporator, and sure enough, it's an aluminum evaporator, but it's leaking like hell. And not leaking on the tubes in the front. It's leaking like inside the fins on the side of the coil. I mean, there's like 2 big spots where it's leaking. And so this is going to be the 3rd evaporator that this Goodman is going to have. I'm going to change out the coil sometime next week. And but, at least Goodman is trying. They went aluminum. Lennox still hasn't went aluminum, at least not to my knowledge. Now, I know that when I was working for the other company that they did go aluminum on their cased coils for gas furnace applications, but the air handlers are still copper. And I asked one of the big dogs from Lennox why this was and why they had not went aluminum in their air handlers. And this is what he said to me. Well, we can't make aluminum coils to fit in our air handlers because the coils are too big.
What?
And I said, excuse me, Train does it, Carrier does it, Goodman does it, Rheem does it. Why the hell can't y'all do it? And he just kind of looked at me and he said, because we just can't come up with a coil that's small enough to fit in our cabinet. It would make our air handler cabinet too big, but we're working on it. I looked at him. I said, okay, let me say this for you again. I said, Train does it, Carrier does it, Goodman does it, Rheem and Rude do it. I don't understand.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's an idiotic statement. I mean, and I can honestly say that, all manufacturers are going to have mistakes. I mean, everybody, Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, I mean, Carrier, Train, everybody does. It's how they handle it. If they make it right, hey, we all have issues, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Look, man, absolutely. Because I don't want to sit here and bash a brand, and I know it sounds like I'm bashing Lennox, but, I'm really not. I'm just, dumbfounded at some of the explanations that I got. And, but you take, Goodman, and, I've done a lot of Goodman bashing. Believe me, everybody knows that. But, at least Goodman did something about it. They went aluminum. Now, I don't think it's completely solved their problem, but it has gotten better. It's gotten a lot better. But the fact that Lennox can't come up with something, I don't know. It leaves me dumbfounded. But because Carrier and ICP are not innocent. We had the TXV issue, and, Carriers had their fair share of leakers too. So they're not innocent, but at least they do something about it. They went back to aluminum because Carrier used to be aluminum back in the day. You'd find those old BDP air handlers with the aluminum slant coil from the 80s. They're still out there leak free.
Yeah. Even Train has a certain furnace that was out there where almost every one I've ever walked onto has a cracked heat exchanger. So, everybody
Exactly.
has their their flaws. Let's hope that the guy you talked to was just an utter moron and didn't know what he was talking about.
I hope so, because I know our good friend Matt Mitchell's listening to this podcast, and he's probably got smoke coming out of his ears right now because he's pissed off at me. Because
it was all John, Matt. It was all John.
Because he is a huge Linux dealer, and he loves Linux, and I'm sure my phone will be going off as soon as he hears all this. But, again, Matt, I'm sorry, bud. I'm just... But I know he's upset right now, and that's okay. We still love you. But, again, like you said, Gil, I hope this guy was an idiot. And Linux may have already went aluminum and air handlers, and I just don't know about it. But guess what? That's why we do these podcasts. Matt Mitchell should be able to answer that question. I guess I should have asked him before I did this podcast.
Well, no. So remember, you did ask him in our group text that he, if he had any issues with leaking coils, and he said that he has, but not as bad as, you thought he would have had.
That's true. He did. I don't know if I ever directly, but it seems like Matt does more gas than anything. I haven't the pictures that he sent, I don't think I've ever seen him do an air handler.
No.
It seems like everything he does is gas. So I know their coils they're cased coils for gas or aluminum. But I don't know about the air handlers yet. So if you're a Linux dealer, and you know this or have answers, please feel free to leave a comment. Leave a comment. Now, if you're listening to this podcast via your phone through the podcast app on Apple, or Stitcher or Podcast Addict on Android, you'll have to go to my YouTube channel to find the video and leave a comment. But I would love to hear if somebody knows, has Linux put an aluminum coil in their air handlers yet? That is the question of the day. That's your homework, everybody that's listening to the podcast. I need an answer to that question.
And I'm going to grade the papers, and I'm an asshole. No freebies, no apples. You know what I mean? But I was going to say, when you were talking about Goodman has done something about their coils, yeah, Aspen makes them now.
This is very true. Now that's a good one. I like that. But even though it is true, now that's only in gas applications. In their air handlers, it's still the Goodman coil, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was just kidding.
Yeah, no, you're right, though. You're right, because I don't think Goodman is making their own cased coil anymore. I think they've teamed up with Aspen. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So, and hey, again, there you go. There's some more homework for y'all, for the Goodman people out there. If you're a Goodman guy or an Amana guy, like there's a difference, you can answer that question for us. I love the ones that get so offended when they say, I don't sell Goodman, I sell Amana. Oh, sorry. That's like saying, I don't sell Carrier, I sell Bryant.
Yeah, one's gray and one's brown. Exactly.
Or I don't sell Train, I sell American Standard. Oh, excuse me. So, but anyway, all right, we're just about at an hour here, so we're going to wrap this thing up. I had a great time. Gil, great episode, man. It's really nice to know that I have a co-host now every week, so I'm glad we were able to work this out and we could team up together.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, but I can't thank you enough. I'm ecstatic about this. And real fast before we end, guys, just like John does when he puts the polls up, man, if you have topics you want to hear, leave them in the Facebook group. Put them on John's YouTube. Let us know. I mean, this group is for your guys. We are trying to be your voice. So you tell us what you want to hear, and that's what we'll talk about. A lot of times it's going to be just me and John talking about things, and we're no experts. It's just tech giving our opinions. Not saying we're not going to have guests. Me and John are working on a lot of things that I think you guys are going to like. But that's, we take pride in that this is, by text for text. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And guys, look, if you want us to talk to somebody from a particular manufacturer or something, let us know. Because I talk to these manufacturers on a daily basis. And with that being said, I want to give a couple shout outs. I want to give a big shout out to Sporlan. Sporlan was the first one to ever get involved with any of the podcasts. They were behind it 110%. They are a sponsor. They are great. And I'm going to get somebody from Sporlan to come on here and do an interview with us. I know they'd be happy to. And I want to give a huge shout out to another guy that supports not only my podcast but many other ones, and that's Tom Jackson from Jackson Systems. I had Tom on an episode a few episodes back. If you haven't listened to that episode, you should. It was great. Me and Tom had a great conversation. Tom has a great company with all kind of great products. You should check it out. Tom is a great supporter of the podcast. And then, of course, Bacharach. Bacharach has come on board with me a few months ago, and they've been fantastic. They loaned me out a H10 to do videos with, and I donated it to a trade school. Bacharach's been great. They've sent me all kind of swag to give away to you guys. So I'm constantly in contact with all these manufacturers. We're going to have somebody from Bacharach come on the podcast soon to talk about Bacharach products. So if you do want me to try to get somebody, me and Gil to try to get somebody on here to, from this place or that place, just leave it in the Facebook group and we'll do our best. Now, I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but Gil is working on something really big, like a guest from a particular company. And if he can do it, it's going to be nice.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's in the making. They're traveling right now, but as soon as they're done, no, yeah, that one's going to happen.
Oh,
yeah, okay.
But I'm talking about the other one.
Oh, though. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that one's really, really. People should know who he is. If they don't, once he starts talking, they will.
Yeah, we're not going to give it away because we don't have anything set in stone with him right now. But I think Gil's going to get it worked out.
Yeah, well, plus we got to keep you guys listening. We can't give you all, we can't blow the load right now.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, it's good. And as far as Tom Jackson, man, I don't know him like you guys know him, but a couple of times on Facebook, like saying things, and he's always responded to me. I mean, I see him. He responds to everybody, and that says a lot about a guy who owns a company and will respond to every comment. That's cool. That's the kind of guy I want to do business with.
Tom Jackson's a great guy. You can't ask for a better guy. Me and him it's been a while since we talked, but I know Tom's on the road right now. But he wants to do a giveaway with us too. I'm not gonna spoil what he's offered to give away. We'll just wait till the time is right. But I have been talking to Tom, and he wants to do a giveaway through Jackson Systems. But he's a great guy. So once all that is all set in stone, then we'll kind of fill you guys in more. All right, guys. Well, that ought to do it for this episode. Gil, thanks again, man, for agreeing to be the co-host.
No, thank you, buddy. This is awesome. I think this is going to be a great partnership, man. I can't wait to see what the future brings us, buddy.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank y'all for listening to this episode of HVAC After Dark, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Sporlan, creating products that provide solutions so that your air conditioning and refrigeration needs are not only met, but exceeded. Offer the highest quality products, innovative solutions, and unparalleled support in the market.